today's School Grants for Healthy Kids Breakfast Grants webinar for the 2015-16 school year. This is Caroline Rafadal Blanco, and I am the South and Southwest Regional Manager with Action for Healthy Kids. And today I am joined by Ellen Dillon, our Northeast Regional Manager, and we're really excited to be with you here today to talk about our upcoming grant opportunities that are available for schools in your state. So we do have some just logistics to go over before we get started. Everyone is in muted only mode, and this is to just block out any background noise, but you will have the opportunity to submit questions throughout the presentation on the control panel, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. So if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, you can enter in questions, and we will be answering them on the back end. The call is being recorded, so we will be sending a follow-up email with the recording, the PowerPoint slides, as well as some additional information to help you get started as you begin to submit for your grant application. So look for a follow-up email within the next 2 business days with a link to the recording, the slides, and some follow-up materials. So we do have a packed agenda today. We have a lot of great information to go over with you, and we will be going over an overview of Action for Healthy Kids if you're not familiar with our organization, as well as for our school grants for healthy kids for the 2015-16 school year, an overview of the application process, as well as a step-by-step overview of our new grant portal. We're really excited to introduce our new technology, which is a much easier process for schools to submit their online applications. We'll be giving some details for some important deadlines, tips for applying, some project ideas, as well as technical assistance that you'll be receiving from Action for Healthy Kids, our state coordinators, our state teams, as well as our state partners. So if you do have any questions, please be sure to enter them in through the question box, and we will answer them along the way. Let's see, I hope my audio is working. Just let me know, Ellen, if I continue to break up a little bit. So some background information if you're not already familiar with Action for Healthy Kids. We're a national nonprofit organization that fights childhood obesity, undernourishment, and physical inactivity by helping schools so kids can live healthier lives. We're really excited to be working with schools to continue grant funding opportunities as well. So we're really excited to work with new schools as well as some of our existing schools. Our goal at Action for Healthy Kids is to really create school communities where children learn how to make healthy choices from the minute they walk in the front door to the minute they leave at the end of the school day. So really working as a community to create that healthy school wellness environment. So some folks ask, just as far as the general overview, why focus on schools? Well, at Action for Healthy Kids, we feel that schools are really serve as that basis to help show kids how the world should be. Schools serve to provide the institutional approval for many behaviors related to food choices and physical activity, and that teachers, administrators, school staff, representatives really serve as the key role models. So schools are the perfect venue to show kids what we value and what is important in our community, as well as structuring a school wellness environment. So school wellness is the belief that schools can and must promote and reinforce healthy eating, physical activity, nutrition education, and physical education in order to increase student achievement. At Action for Healthy Kids, we have the Learning Connection report that really showcases and correlates academic success and improvement based on children who are equipped with healthy options as well as physical activity in the school environment. So at Action for Healthy Kids, we take a 3-step approach as part of our strategic model to really enforce a learn, act, and transform. As far as the 3-pronged approach, learning really helps to educate those their understanding of how to combat childhood obesity, increase the familiarity of the issue, as well as equip them with resources that they may need to implement a wellness plan, mobilize volunteers, as well as school wellness programs to engage kids in healthy activity, which in turn, utilizing the Learn and the Act sections, we focus on transforming the school environment to improve physical fitness and nutrition in schools and reduce childhood obesity. At Action for Healthy Kids, we're really excited as part of our national movement that we work with over 80,000 volunteers nationwide. We have over 75 national partners that we work with, 40 state teams that serve as our coalitions at the state level, and we work with 4,500 school districts, 9,000 schools, reaching almost 13 million children nationwide. And we do this through a network of committed partners that are dedicated to school health and wellness that include the school stakeholders, parents, community stakeholders, and especially the primary focus is our students. So I'm going to turn it over to Ellen Dillon, who's going to give a brief overview of our various school grant opportunities.
Great, thank you. I appreciate being able to share this with you. We're really excited to be offering our school grants for healthy kids. For the 15-16 school year, which is next year, we'll be awarding over 1,000 schools, and about 600 of those will be breakfast grants. We have grant awards from $1,000 to $2,500, and I'll be walking through what each of those programs looks like so that you'll get a better idea of the funding available. And then we have, the focus is going to be on school breakfast programs, focusing on alternative breakfast and universal breakfast models. We fund schools, PTOs and PTAs, or school and health and wellness teams. We do not fund other community-based organizations or 501c3 programs. So if you are a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club and you want to partner with a school, the school needs to be the primary applicant. And we'll talk a little bit more about the application process. Schools must be a participant in the National School Lunch Program. And obviously, if they're a breakfast grant, a National School Breakfast Program. So it could be a private school or a charter school as long as they're a participant in the National School Lunch and Breakfast Programs. Now this next one, this serves K through 12 children. That doesn't mean the school itself has to serve a K through 12. It just can't be a preschool only school. It could be pre-K through grade 5, elementary. It could be a 6 through 8. It could be a 9 through 12. It could be a pre-K through 8. So any combination of those is fine, and pre-K could be involved as long as it's part of an elementary school program. I know just that phrase K through 12 throws people off, but the biggest key here is we do not fund preschool programs solely. So if it's a solo program of preschool, daycare, or something like that, we do not fund those programs. Okay, next. So as I mentioned, we have a variety of funding available. So about 600 of those grants are focusing on school breakfast programs. And we have 3 different breakfast grants. We have a school building, which is a school breakfast expansion, and it's available in all states. We have a district breakfast grant, which is for multiple schools in a district, and it's available in all states. And then we have a universal and alternative breakfast grant, which is available in specific states. Now, in those specific states, we'll outline those in just a minute, but those are for, it has to be both universal and alternative, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We also have something called an Every Kid Healthy grant. This past year, for the 14-15 year, it was a physical activity grant, but we've added an optional nutrition component and have renamed it Every Kid Healthy. Now, this grant is also only available in specific states. We'll outline those in just a minute, too. And schools could apply for both a breakfast grant and an Every Kid Healthy grant, depending upon the needs of the school, and more than likely may have different project leads on that grant as well. So we'll go into a little bit more detail in just a moment. Next. So first off, the school building school breakfast grant. This is available in all states, and the primary focus here is to expand or pilot alternative and or universal breakfast in schools, in an individual school or maybe one or two schools in a district. Each school will receive $1,750, and that will go towards equipment or other needs related to developing an alternative breakfast program. Now, there are some requirements. Schools need to have a free and reduced percentage of 40% or greater, and we are giving priority to schools with a greater enrollment, so those that are over 500 students. Now, that does not mean a school that has 300 or 200 students should not apply, but we will be giving priority to some of those larger schools. But we do know that based on our work in schools over the last 5-6 years, that schools that have 40% or more are more able to not only move to an alternative model, but be successful at it. And an alternative model is really something that we're calling anything that's not so traditional in the cafeteria before the bell. So here are some examples. We could do breakfast in the classroom, a grab-and-go model, breakfast after the first period, often called second chance breakfast. It could be breakfast on a school bus. We know that there are some very rural communities out there that have even been able to launch a breakfast on the school bus program. Most of the expenditure related to something like this is going towards equipment or other such needs. We'll talk a little bit more about budgets in just a minute. And universal breakfast, for those that might not know, is considered a free breakfast for all students. The impact of these grants is that schools are going to realize an increase of participation, average daily participation, or ADP, by 25% by the end of the year. And you should be also providing nutrition information to students and parents, which is normally what most schools are doing anyway. And what we are also seeing is that most of our schools are well able to surpass that 25% target of increase. Then we have our district breakfast grants, which is slightly different. It's focusing on all states. Any state can apply, but it's a district. And the key here is that we want to be able to work with the district to roll out an alternative model in multiple schools. What we do know is that school districts, when they're rolling out to more than one school or a couple of schools, have greater need. They might need more equipment or more time to develop buy-in among their principals and teachers, and additional trainings might need to be offered, some customization. We're offering to the district $2,100 per school. Our target is that we want to be able to have a district bring on as few as 10 schools or as many as 30, depending upon the need of the district. Next slide. Now, if a district has more than 30 schools and they want to roll out an alternative model to multiple schools beyond the 30, we'll definitely work with you, but we do also know we want to make it something that a district has the capacity to implement and be able to really make something like that happen. We know there's a lot of things that go into it. So as I mentioned, each school will receive $2,100, or for example, if it's 10 schools, the district will receive $21,000 for their efforts. In addition to that, there are some impacts or some results that we're working towards seeing. And with this added time and focus, we're expecting to see an increase of 35% in ADP. And we're focusing on the district has an average, the schools have an average of 50% or greater of free and reduced meals. So the school building grant has a little bit lesser free and reduced criteria. This has a little bit higher, 50% or more among the schools that are being included in the grant. Doesn't mean the entire district has to be 50%. It just means that those schools that are part of this grant would have 50% or more. Also, could you go back 1 second? I'm sorry. Also, we will be providing some additional technical assistance to these districts. Not only will the districts receive a site visit from Action for Healthy Kids project lead, which is myself, who will come in and work with the school district, and it could be on buy-in, it could be on helping to create a plan, it could be whatever is needed by the school district, but we will also be hosting a convening of granted districts for additional training and support. It will be held during the summer or early fall so that the districts can A, learn from one another, and B, really get additional support to help with the rollout of their grant. And all expenses will be paid to those attending. All right, next please. Then we have our Universal Breakfast grant. And now, this is only available in these states here, California, Colorado. I'm not going to go through them. You can see them. And this is really based upon funder selection and those states that we have additional support in those states for our grants. And we have that through our state coordinators. So this grant, if you're in one of those states and you have a school that has an interest in offering a free breakfast for all students and an alternative model, this is ideal for those schools. We also have what we are calling our sustainability grants, which is being provided to any school that was previously funded under our Universal Breakfast Grant. We know that most times schools receive enough funding to purchase their equipment, but then maybe other needs might pop up. And so we're really happy to be able to offer, you know, sustainability grants to help continue their efforts. So if you're a school that was funded in the past by us and you're not sure if you qualify, touch base with us and we'll be happy to help you realize if you are or are not eligible. Next slide. So in this one, we know that those schools that have a 60% or greater free and reduced are more likely to see positive financial results by going to free breakfast for all students and are more likely to have that break-even point around 60%. Now, each school district is different. Each school is different. So depending upon your needs, you might find that you could break even at a lesser amount or a greater amount. This universal breakfast is, as I mentioned earlier, it's free breakfast for all students and could be a grant that could be applied to a school or districts that are offering community eligibility, which is obviously, for those who aren't aware, are free breakfast and lunch, too, for all students in the school. The grant award for these grants, the new schools that are coming on, is $2,500 to schools, and it has to include a universal and alternative breakfast model. So free breakfast for all students plus that breakfast out of the cafeteria and or after the bell. And the goal here is that we want schools to be able to strive to target an increase of ADP to 85%. We believe very strongly that with an alternative model and free breakfast, that schools could be serving most of the students in their school, and an 85% target is a realistic target to achieve. Next. So who should apply for that universal breakfast pilot? Because that might be, a little bit confusing, and so we wanted to spell it out a little bit more clearly. If you're a school that is currently offering universal or free breakfast and you want to add an alternative model, you're a perfect candidate because you're probably seeing that you have some participation in breakfast, but by just making it free doesn't mean students are going to come and eat the breakfast. It's often we need to move the breakfast to where the students are. So either through breakfast in the classroom or a grab-and-go kiosk in high-volume locations, something like that will really make the greater impact and lead us to that 85% target. It could be that maybe you've been offering an alternative model, but now you're ready to add a free breakfast for all students, or maybe your school will be electing to offer community eligibility provision next year. So at that point, you would be also a good candidate for this grant. Just because you've already got the alternative, now you're adding this free breakfast for all, and that combination of the two is really key. Likely, your needs might be a little different than the needs previously on the previous model, in that you might need to be able to now feed more kids. You've already had the alternative model, but maybe it's not as successful, and by offering it free, maybe you need different tracking mechanisms, or maybe you need another kiosk or more carts or something like that to be able to serve more breakfast. Or refrigeration, we know that a lot of storage needs are increased when you're serving more breakfast. So those might be needs that you might have. Or perhaps you're a school that's ready to do both. You're ready to provide free breakfast for all students and an alternative model, and you did not previously provide either of those in the past. So you are a perfect candidate. So any of these three types of schools should consider applying for this grant if you're in those states that were outlined previously. Next, we also, as mentioned, have the School Grants for Healthy Kids, Every Kid Healthy grant. Again, this is in select states. This is funder-driven based on the funder's primary target areas. So as you even see that in Ohio and West Virginia, it's targeted down to certain locations. This is primarily focusing on physical activity grants and has added an optional nutritional component. So you might not, if maybe your food service, maybe this isn't your area, but you might want to share this with your physical education program, or maybe someone else in your school that has more of an interest in increasing physical activity opportunities for students. And the biggest key here is that funding is going to really go towards increasing physical activity opportunities for all students. So it doesn't go towards funding intramurals, but it would go towards maybe additional recess equipment or playground space, or a walking club, a running club, where all students have an opportunity to participate. Brain breaks in the school to help train teachers and offer brain break opportunities. And then an optional nutritional component could be that, in addition, the primary focus being physical activity opportunities, but maybe you want to add in some funding towards taste tests or school garden or something along those lines. So the majority of the focus of the grant is on physical activities, but there also could be a nutritional component. Next. Now, there's a lot of words on this page, so I'm just going to summarize it. The grant size on this is, on average, most schools are going to receive $1,000. If it was a school that was previously funded for this program in the past, they can have a sustainability funds of $500 or up to $2,500 depending upon their program. But most schools will be receiving $1,000, and applications are being written around $1,000, and then budgets are set up around $1,000. The goal here, and this is the biggest thing to understand, is that an increase of physical activity opportunities to 30 minutes per day by all students. So it could be that maybe your school didn't have recess before, or maybe you had a shortened recess and you're finding additional time for additional recess, or maybe it's before school every day, students will be allowed to, there's a dance club or a walking club where students have an additional 15 minutes. So you need to be able to document this additional time and how it's going to be made available. If you do elect to do some type of nutrition component, then we want to make sure that it's offering access to healthy foods and that additional information to families regarding the health components of both physical activity and healthy eating are provided. And we will be working to help schools work towards Healthy Schools certification, whether it's through USDA's Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge or Alliance for Healthier Generations Healthy Schools program. All schools are encouraged and eligible to apply, but focus and priority will be given to those schools with greater need of 50% more or more of students eligible for free and reduced meals. But all schools are encouraged to apply. In addition, all schools will be part of the requirement of the grant is that all schools are participating in Every Kid Healthy Week. Every Kid Healthy Week is a week that has been designated by the National Observance Calendar to focus on school wellness, and it's the last week of April every year, and it's going to be to help promote healthy eating and physical activity in schools and health promoting activities in schools. So if you already have an event, that's great, and we just ask that you make it something that could be in April that is focused on healthy schools. And if you don't have an event, we'll help you to find a way to celebrate healthy eating and physical activity in schools, and often it's really a great way to energize your campus as well as your families. And here we see some pictures of schools that have participated in the past and some of the things that they've done. We will be providing lots of information and ways to get through the application process. The biggest thing is when you log onto our website, we're encouraging you that you really should download the paper application. That will allow you to really formulate your plan, work with your team, and create an idea of what you want to do, get all the information together so that really when you sit down at the portal, we have an online portal that we'll walk through in just a moment that will allow you to quickly move through that process. You want to think about writing it as if the person reading it has no idea of what's going on in your school, because we don't, and giving as much information as you can within the character limits. Now, there are not word limits. You'll see as you're working on it, you'll see character limits. So that includes spaces as well as letters. So think about trying to as concisely say what you need to say, but give as much information in that concise manner that you can. But we don't expect everyone to be a grant writer either. So know that you don't need to be, nor do we expect you to go out and work with someone in your district to do this. But if you have that capacity, great. But we understand that not everybody does. So we're not awarding grants based on the colorful language, but really the ability to tell us a little bit about what your need is in the school and what your plan is. So you will need to submit your grant through the application on the online portal. You cannot send us your paper application. So we'll work with you if you have any technical issues. We have a website where you can go to. We have an email where you can send. We have a phone number that you can connect with us, and we will help you walk through it if you need assistance. On our page, our website page, you will also find frequently asked questions. We will also be providing that in our follow-up material so that you can keep it close to you. And I'll encourage you to even maybe print that out and keep it close so that you can refer to it as you're working through the online portal. As I mentioned, you're going to complete that paper application first, and you're going to want to make sure you, on the website page, you click on Proceed to the Online Grant Portal, where you're going to be creating your user, and then we're going to just go ahead and move on, if you don't mind, Caroline, and I'll just take them right to the pages. So we have a few screenshots of what you're going to see as you log in. The first page is our registration page. Even if you have been a member of Action for Healthy Kids or a grant-funded school in the past, you're going to need to create a login. It can be the same login as you've used in the past, but all people who are coming in need to create a login. So you're not going to press on the big blue button there that says login. It's the one underneath that says need a member or and need to be a member or something like along those lines. So you're going to click on there, and it's going to take you to the next page, which is kind of hard to see here, but it says registration. So you're going to provide your first name, your last name, your email, and a password. So that is going to be your login information from now on for your page. This new website that we have, this new portal, will really be very helpful to you because you'll be able to access everything about this grant through your portal. So that's really exciting. You'll be able to come in and see all the application information that you need, or if you get funded, you'll be able to access all the things that you'll need for the grant on this page. So the first page, once you log in, you're going to get to this page. This is your home page. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to create your own profile. And on this, the biggest thing that we work with is zip code. So it's not your personal zip code, but it's the zip code of the school. So you're going to affiliate yourself with a school or multiple schools. So depending upon if you're applying as a district or if you're applying with single schools. If you're applying to a single school, you're going to enter in the zip code of that single school. But if you're applying for a district, you're going to want to apply for the zip code where the central office is located. And sometimes we know in some locations that can be different. So you're going to click on step 1, affiliate schools, and it'll take you to the next page. Here, this is going to take you to My Profile. So you can get it through that right-hand panel where it says Step 1, or on that left-hand panel here where it says My Profile. On here, you're going to choose your school zip code, and you're going to enter it in, and you're going to hit Search School. And there you're going to be able to select if it's a single school, what the school name is, or if it's a school district, you'll be able to click on the school district and then go from there to add in additional schools. You're going to scroll through the rest of this page, and you're going to enter in information on yourself. We'll need to know your name, your job title at the school, what your role is, and then your contact information, so that if we need to get in touch with you, we can also do that. And most of that information will also auto-populate as you go through the application. Next screen. Okay, so we see here an example where it was entered in already, and that's what you're going to do as well. So then it will take you to the grants page, where it allows you to see the grants for the schools and what's in progress, or maybe what's already been submitted. So in this one, we can see in this example that a couple of the schools were already completed, and then we have schools that are still in progress. So this will also be your way of double checking that maybe if you hit submit, you're not sure if it actually went through. You can see this on your portal page where those that are completed will show that they're completed, and those that are progress are still in progress. So when you get to, once you've affiliated yourself to different schools or a school, you're going to then choose the grant that you want to apply for. Now, you can only apply for one of the breakfast grants per school, but you could apply for a breakfast grant and an Every Kid Healthy grant if you are in one of those states that allows for the Every Kid Healthy grant. We're going to focus on the breakfast grants. And so you're going to choose whether you're a district or the universal or the school building alternative, and as we highlighted earlier. So once you click on those, it'll take you to the next page, which will show you, in this example is a district grant, where you can start entering in your data and your information. And we are working right now, and I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but where if you're a district, you're going to need to apply for the district, applying for multiple schools, and then you'll need to apply for each of those schools. So what will happen is once you've chosen your district, you'll then go back and choose ABC school, click on that, and that'll auto-populate for ABC school. And then you'll just want to make sure you have contact information for that school that applies, and then submit it, and then apply for XYZ school and that type of thing. So hopefully with our new technology, we'll minimize the need to complete the same application over and over and over again, so making your life much easier. You're going to want to make sure that as you work through it, you hit complete and submit, and then just want to double check. You can print off your application. We encourage you to do that. That way you have a record of it, but it will also be on the portal for you. Next. So if you were a school building grant and you wanted to choose that, you're going to want to make sure that you're choosing the right school, picking the school off of your zip code that you entered. And then if you don't see it, there will be a way to submit how to get your school onto our database. We have a database of all schools, but we do know that some schools are new schools or some private schools may not be included, so we'll want to make sure we include your school. But you're going to want to make sure that you work through the whole process and make sure you get to the submission point to be able to submit your grant. Here are some important deadlines that you'll see. The biggest key right now is the only one that you need to really be aware of is that May 1st. We have to have these applications in by May 1st because we are turning them around in about a 3-week turnaround so that we can award schools. Note that we know that many schools could be out by the time you're receiving that award notification. So in the application, we do ask for an alternative email, so you might want to be thinking about a summer email or another email that someone else might be able to see that will receive this information, because if you get awarded and then you need to turn around the MOA or the agreement saying, you know, you're accepting the funds, then you want to be able to receive that information and not wait till August, because we might have to extend that to another school if you don't respond in a timely manner. When we come back to school in August, September, we'll be hosting a webinar for all granted schools that will allow you to, you know, talk a little bit more about the program and what our timeline for the year, focusing on our reporting timelines and projects. And as you see here, we'll have a midterm project report due in December and another one at the end of May. So you'll get more information on that as we move through the process once you're awarded. So we want to give some tips for schools on applying. The biggest thing we want you to understand is that you want to make sure your description of your project is clear and makes sense, and that we know what you're doing and what you're hoping to do. If there is a question on the application that talks about how will you sustain your program beyond this grant period, we know that the funds, especially when it comes to school breakfast, are enough to get you the equipment and the seed money to get started. But once that happens, how are you going to make sure it continues for the next couple of years to come? Be realistic about your budget. The funding is going to come in 2 installments. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But the biggest key to understand, and we'll talk about that during the budget section, is that funding cannot be used for staffing. We want you to be realistic with your allotment of funds, and so we try to help you limit it no more than 10% for incentives. And food can only be purchased for taste testing, meaning that because we know that there are lots of requirements regarding food and increases of healthy food in the breakfast program from USDA regulations, but our funding cannot be used to support any of those meals. It can't be used to pay for universal breakfast and offering free breakfast for students that might normally be paying students. We know that the schools, through reimbursements, will get a lot of those funding pieces back. And again, as we mentioned, those that are in eligible states can apply for both a breakfast and Every Kid Healthy grant. Okay.
All right.
Project idea.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to, Carolyn? You
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ellen. So as a reminder, if you have any questions, please enter those into the question box, and we are answering them as we go through the presentation, and we will also try to answer some more at the end. We're trying to get through all of these details, so please bear with us, and we will get to you as soon as we can. So as ideas are to make sure your description clearly describes what your school is currently doing and what other project things that you want to incorporate or enhance your current school wellness program. So some breakfast project ideas for alternative breakfast models can include breakfast in the classroom, grab and go, second chance breakfast, breakfast on the bus. We've even seen a second chance breakfast or grab and go as part of a breakfast at the bus stop for some of our previously granted schools. So schools have really done a great job creating these alternative breakfast models that work with their class schedules and work with what the students' need is based off of the elementary, middle, and high schools. So if offering free breakfast, mention that in your project description, so that way there is that clarification as well. So some ideas for evaluation outcomes, because we do need an evaluation component incorporated within your school grant application. So some ideas that have been previously used and that are recommended are things such as student surveys for taste testing. So if you are looking to add a new meal item or food item, having taste testing incorporated within the program, capturing your average daily participation, your ADP, on a monthly basis compared to last year. Those will be required as part of reporting requirements for your midterm and final reports, so you want to make sure that you are capturing your ADP data. Also incorporating quotes from students on a monthly basis. This really helps for success of the program, as well as getting feedback for the breakfast program that's being implemented. And utilizing any type of communications for parents, community representatives, letting them know about your breakfast program, promoting your breakfast program if you are having a breakfast event, really communicating and promoting the breakfast program as part of evaluation ideas. As Ellen mentioned, for budget, we do have some allowable and inallowable budget expenditures. So as you are completing your application online, the portal, our school grants portal, will not accept funds over the required grant amount. So if you are applying for a universal breakfast as a new school, it will not allow you to enter in over $2,500 for the grant dollars per school. If you're applying for the breakfast expansion grant, it will not allow you to enter an amount that exceeds $1,750. So just keep that in mind as you're completing your paper application first, so that way you can easily copy and paste the information onto the online grant portal. Other suggestions for budget for breakfast programs include equipment, and that should reflect the type of project that's being implemented. So for example, if you are providing a breakfast in the classroom project and you need to purchase insulated bags, carts, kiosks for transporting those items to the classroom, that can be incorporated as part of equipment. Unfortunately, food cannot be included as part of budget. The only allotment for food that's allowed is if the food needs to be purchased for taste testing items. So you can be sure to include that as far as a note in your budget description that you will need some funding allocation to put towards taste testing food items. But you can't utilize all $2,000 to purchase funds for your grab-and-go food items. So just to be clear on that. And then funds cannot be used for staffing, for staff stipends. We're really wanting the to be used for specifics regarding equipment needs, evaluation needs, your program needs. So keeping that in mind. Also, as a reminder, funds will be dispersed in 2 payments. So once you complete your MOA, your Memorandum of Agreement, you will receive your first installment check of 65% of grant funds. And then once you complete your midterm report, you will receive the remainder of your grant funds in January. So you do receive payments as part of 2 installments. If your project requires more funding than our grant provides, then we encourage you to seek out additional funding from partner organizations for other grant opportunities from your food service budget to help support your total grant project needs. The total awards for our breakfast grants range from $1,000 to $2,500 in funds that can be incorporated for your equipment, project needs, promotional items. The actual funds for promotional items is $100 less than the total award accounted for of the promotional items. So if you do need to purchase incentive items and so forth, promotional items, that can be incorporated within the budget. We offer great technical assistance from Action for Healthy Kids. We really want the process to apply for our school grant opportunities to be as easy as possible for schools, for districts, for food service directors, school representatives. So if you have any questions, please let us know. We do provide content-specific webinars throughout the grant cycle as well. So once you're awarded an Action for Healthy Kids school grant, you will still receive support from the National Action for Healthy Kids office as well as through our state coordinators, state team, partner affiliations to really help support your school breakfast program and equip you for success. We do provide monthly newsletters that have great tips, grant reminders to help you keep track of your grant, as well as expert assistance from our national staff, state coordinators, partner volunteers, and we link you to local resources for additional support. So as I mentioned, we definitely encourage schools to apply for additional grant funds if needed to support their programs, as well as put you in touch with local partner organizations to help support your program. We do also provide training of key school grant teams. So as part of your school wellness team or your school health advisory council, we do provide school health team training as well and webinars for funded schools to ensure successful implementation and sustainability. And we assist all of our funded schools through your evaluation measurements and communication efforts to really promote of your school program. We do provide additional technical assistance specifically for our district breakfast grant recipients. The district grants are a bit unique in that because of the multiple schools that are funded, we want to ensure that you receive technical assistance for your larger granted number of schools. So you will be receiving a site visit from one of our national breakfast experts, and there will be a convening for all funded districts at the key grant lead or the food service director and so forth to learn additional strategies for success. And as Ellen mentioned, all these expenses are paid as part of the convening in Chicago. So great resources to really take advantage of through our school grant opportunities. As a reminder, if you have any questions, submit them in the question panel. We will be sending a follow-up email with the recording, the PowerPoint slides, some of those documents that Ellen mentioned, like the frequently asked questions document, a link to the paper application, some resources to help you answer any questions that you may have prior to getting started for our school grants. And we do have state coordinators in 20 states that will be assisting you if you have any questions regarding your school grant application, and we'll be sending that out as part of the follow-up email. But if you have any questions, any general questions, you can also reach out to school grants at actionforhealthykids.org. So Ellen, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you to see if there are any questions that have come in that we want to share with the group.
We have a lot of questions. Thank you, guys. You've done a great job submitting them in, and I hope we've answered those as we've gone along. A few questions relate to size of the school. So let's take a moment to talk about that. So we've got really small schools, schools that have less than that 500 priority. We want all schools to apply, and so it's okay if your school is small. There was a school as small as 60, and while that becomes a little bit harder to fund because we try to impact as many students as we can with our funds, we also know that even those schools are in situations where they have a need to. So if we can do it, we will. The school building grant is based on enrollment because we're trying to impact as many students as possible. But we know that, for example, a high school can have 3,000 students, can certainly balance out some of our smaller schools. So it's okay. We do want you to apply if you have smaller schools. Okay, so we've got questions on multiple schools too. So here's a question from Allison Porter. Allison had a question regarding the universal grant, and can a school or school district apply for multiple schools under the universal grant? Yes, you absolutely can. You will have the ability to not only copy and paste or auto-populate some of those questions that are similar. You might have 5 schools that are all maybe community eligibility schools, which is free breakfast for students as well as lunch, but we're focusing on breakfast. And they will also be going to breakfast in the classroom. So we know that they're all doing the same plan, so they can all have the same information. What's going to be different is each school's information. We're going to have a different principal's name, maybe different cafeteria manager or food service manager at the school. It could be that it's going to have different current ABP we're going to ask for on that application. So you're going to need to have that school level data as well to submit, but you can submit multiple schools. So hopefully that answers those questions. Now for schools that are applying for the school building grant, and maybe you're the food service manager of the district and you're a small district with 5 or 6 schools. You certainly can apply for multiple schools, but each school has its own application, but it's, like I said, it's very easy to auto-populate or at least copy and paste the information into each school's application. You as food service manager can still be the primary grant lead for both schools, but each school has its own application, and that hopefully will answer that question. Question regarding, can you apply for less than 10 schools on the school breakfast district grant? The primary focus here is on 10 schools or more. If you are not sure if you can or should apply, I'd encourage you to contact us and we'll talk about your individual situation. but it is focusing on schools of 10 or more. Okay. I think we've answered some of the questions regarding multiple schools. We have a few partners, community partners on the call, and we want you absolutely to support your local school, but it has to be the school that applies for the grant. It cannot be the YMCA or Boys and Girls Club at the, that might maybe be in the school. It has to be the school that applies. We only are funding the school for their grants. So if you are a nonprofit that's working with a school, you're going to want to work with the school, maybe help them, but you're going to be providing that to the school, and the school will apply for it. Technical assistance. If you struggle with any of the logins, as the next page will have the contact, the School Grants for Action, there we go, thank you, School Grants at actionforhealthykids.org. You can let us know. You can also, when you send it to us, if you take a screenshot of what problem or what response you're getting, we can better answer your question, or provide your phone number and we'll do the best to troubleshoot through email or call you and try to help you through the different steps that need to be taken place. And pardon me as I'm scrolling through, I'm just trying to make sure that most of our questions are being answered, that when we have multiple people asking the same type of question. Some examples of what the grant money can be used for. As Caroline walked through, on our budget, on the application, we set it up into a couple different buckets, so to speak. And those buckets will be equipment. It could include incentives. It could be meeting costs. There's funding for your Every Kid Healthy. There's funding for a couple different things. We know most of your funding is going to go to equipment. But you might also be hosting a parent meeting or some other type of meeting that you want to include taste tests in. So you're going to want to be able to put funds there. But most of your funds will go to equipment. It'll be a kiosk for grab and go. It could be a portable point of sale. We've had schools that have purchased tablets in the past to help speed up the record keeping for collecting names or scanning cards or something like that for keeping track of who's purchasing their breakfast. You can also be buying trash cans and anything that's going to help your custodial staff and cleanup process. We know that moving breakfast out of the cafeteria will involve a few different logistical things. So the more that you can do to make it easier for all, the better off and more successful you'll be. If you're not sure, you need some ideas, we're happy to assist you. And again, send us those emails and we'll do our best to either connect you with someone locally that can help, or either Caroline or myself. We both manage our breakfast grants and we're both well versed in working with schools across the country, districts across the country, and impacting their breakfast participation. And then lastly, I see there's a couple questions about brand new schools or schools that are not participating in school breakfast programs yet. So it might be a new program. That is okay as long as you will be participating in the National School Breakfast Program, meaning that you're you will be receiving your reimbursements from the USDA. You'll be getting those things and that funding to help support and continue your process. So if you, as long as you're already part of the National School Lunch Program, you can, and will be participating in the National School Breakfast Participation Program, you can participate in this grant and apply. We do have schools that have not offered breakfast in the past and who will be offering breakfast maybe this past year in their grant. Just for another real quick, the universal breakfast, that 60% eligible is at a hard number for free and reduced. It's really your break-even point. We have chosen 60% because we know most districts that tends to be, you know, where they need to be to quote-unquote break even. We don't want schools to come in and have a loss. So if you don't have a high enough free and reduced rate, it might be harder to offer free breakfast for all. So you might just be better off if you're lower applying for the school breakfast grant and receiving slightly less money but not making it free for all, because we do want your participation to increase, your reimbursements to increase, but not to a point where you would be at a loss, because that's not a successful program. Okay, so I'm just going to do one quick scan. Again, you can only apply for one breakfast grant per school. But if you're in the select states, you can apply for the Every Kid Healthy, the physical activity grant, and a breakfast grant. And I think we're almost at the top of our hour, so I don't want to go too much longer. You will get all of this information after the fact, and if you had questions that just didn't get answered, we encourage you to contact us at School Grants, or when you get if you have a state coordinator in your state, feel free to follow up with them so that we can make sure that we provide you with as much support as we can, and we are here to help you and know that we'll do everything in our power to help you get your grant application submitted and funded, because that's our goal. Caroline?
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, so much for joining us today, and look for a follow-up email from us in the next 2 days. And feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time, and have a great day.